Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host Stefan Burns. We are right now in the critical time period that we've been looking at, not just for a few weeks, but actually I've been looking at this time period now for a few months. And this is because there is a convergence of factors. We're talking solar factors like this giant coronal hole. We're talking, for example, space factors. We have a comet right now, the brightest comet of 2026. It's at its perihelion tomorrow, its closest approach to the sun. It has a super long plasma tail. I can show you it right here really quick. This is PANSTARRS, and that is quite significant. It will have a perfect Sun, Comet, Earth alignment 25th, 26. We have this really notable planetary alignment right now. Earth, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Neptune, these four being really precise, and these four here all sharing roughly the same tilt angle, showing that there's some level of resonance between these planets. And when they're in this sort of alignment, well, things can get a little wild. We see that. We also have an Earth, Venus, Uranus alignment. We have a Mercury, Sun, Jupiter alignment. There's a Venus, Saturn, Neptune alignment. That one is precise, exact vector angle. So when we see these sort of planetary alignments, we often get big events to unfold. We have this coronal hole that I just mentioned right here. This is emitting a high-speed stream of solar wind. We are now in that, meaning we are now magnetically connected to the sun directly as a result of this space weather structure. And if we go back to our alignment graphic here, you'll see I put in this solar storm right there over Mars. That's because over the past week, we had two significant solar storms launch out towards Mars. And the first one impacted yesterday. The second one impacts tomorrow. So we're right in this time window where there is this strong plasma magnetic connection between the sun and the Mars, between the sun and Earth. We have this alignment right here, all the other ones as described. And of course, we have C2025 R3 PANSTARRS flying in for its perihelion, and then that perfect Sun, Comet, Earth alignment. We're going to look at the sky map because it looks a little different. When we look just at this graphic, it gives you a different sense of where the planets are than if we look at the actual sky position. This is useful. They're both very useful tools, so we'll look at that. We have a Venus-Moon conjunction tonight, so I recommend you go out and give that a look. Right as after the sun sets, you'll see Venus shining very bright. The moon, crescent moon, after a new moon, will be up there. And we see this new moon race across here at the bottom of our SDO imagery. So that was just within the past 24 hours. And to just discuss a little bit more on the solar topic, we also had a big plasma filament launched from the sun today. Not really Earth direct, but we may get a little clip from that in the coming days. So you see that right there? That's a big plasma filament that launched. Watch again one more time. You'll see this launch outwards, more to the south and to the east solar coordinate system, but we may get a little hit from that. We also have the biggest sunspot right now on the Earth-facing side. There's not that many, but we have the biggest sunspot on the Earth-facing side right in the strike zone. So this is what I'm talking about. It's not that we just have the sunspot, or we just have the coronal hole, or just the plasma filament, or just the comet, or just the planetary alignments. It's all coming together simultaneously, and these are the signs that we look for in terms of forecasting significant events unfolding here on Earth, usually of a geologic characteristic like an earthquake or a volcano. Could be multiple earthquakes. Sometimes though it does express in unique ways. So we can see this energy. It's not necessarily always tied to the geologic material realm, you could say, the mineral realm. Sometimes it expresses itself at the human level because we're very receptive to all these energies, and sometimes that's how this energy manifests, and there's some crazy world events or geopolitics, whatever. So we could be looking at that as well. Now, really quite significant, and this is another data point really suggesting that something's happening right now, is that we have quite a bit of seismicity right now. Now, there's no magnitude 6s for the day or higher. We see that our highest magnitude is a 5.9 Kermadec Islands, but there is something pretty interesting happening right now that makes today, the past 24 hours, highly anomalous, because we can count the number of magnitude 5.0 to 5.9 earthquakes, and we have the 5.9 right there. We also just had this 5.6 come in off Indonesia, so that's another one right now adding into the list. But let's count this up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's that 5.2. So that's 9. And then we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 magnitude 5.0 to 5.9 earthquakes is way beyond the standard deviation, especially when we consider there not being a magnitude 6 or greater earthquake. Because often, if you have these days with lots of magnitude 5s, that's because there was a magnitude 7 or 8 that ruptured, creating this swarm. When we have these sort of days where it's only a super high amount of just magnitude 5s, it's like 1 in 4,000 or something for the most recent time frame of data, like past 20 years. So this is very, very anomalous. The standard rate, just FYI, across all these sort of days, the standard rate is 4 to 5 magnitude 5 earthquakes a day. This is 5.0 to 5.9. So 4 to 5 magnitude 5s a day. We're at 15 right now. So it's significant. And what we're really seeing is a lot of activity here. So this is in the Kermadec Trench, north of New Zealand. If I zoom out again, you'll see that here is New Zealand, North Island. Right there to the north, we have this very long subduction trench here. You have Tonga up here. You have Fiji, Samoa, a lot of activity here, deep activity here as well. Megaquakes pop off. You can also get megaquakes to pop off in the Kermadec Trench. And right now we're seeing an anomalous burst, because if you go up here and put on only earthquakes on the map, we see the 5.9, 5.4, 5.3, 5.2, 4.8. That's just for the past 24 hours. Those are all fairly clustered close together. So it's not like it's a clear 5.9, everything's magnitude 4 or less. We had that 5.4 there. And the story, basically, it really kind of tells you more of a story if you go to the 7-day here, because you also see this magnitude 6. So now you have a magnitude 6 and a magnitude 5.9, plus these other earthquakes. This very well could be a preliminary swarm before a large event magnitude 7 or greater. That is very possible. That is, of all the locations right now on the globe for a big earthquake, that would be my top location, primarily because we also, as you see, had a global seismic burst within the past 30 days. We had this 7.5 in Tonga right here, 7.3 Vanuatu, 7.4 Indonesia. We see that this is pretty close to this whole zone of rupture. And these plates, they move in sequence. This is all the Pacific plate right there, right? To the east of that. So it would not surprise me at all to see now this part of the Pacific plate have a significant rupture, magnitude 7 or greater. We'll just have to wait and see, but that is the top location that I'm looking at as it relates to earthquake activity. And we are seeing this sustained burst of activity across all the earthquakes, magnitude 5.0, 5.9 right now, with 15 events for the globe. Another thing that I have not yet mentioned, which is adding into all this, is the fact that we are right now just coming out of a geomagnetic storm. So we had that coronal hole high-speed stream. And just by the way, these are well linked to earthquakes. So there's a very strong connection between these coronal hole high-speed streams and earthquakes, specifically high magnitude earthquakes. And to get even more in detail, when they are very large and they have a lot of width to them, that's key, because then we'll be in that magnetic stream for a while. We enter into the magnetic stream in the first place because it's cutting through that solar equator, and the Earth is along the ecliptic plane with the sun. So if it's way up here, we're not going to hit it. But if it's right in this zone, yeah, we're going to hit it, baby. And then additionally, if it has a negative polarity, that also helps it connect into Earth's magnetic field better. And well, that's exactly what this thing is. It's huge. We have another one following up behind it and a third coronal hole that's transequatorial following up behind it as well. So this isn't the end of the world, but in terms of forecasting significant Earth events, earthquakes, maybe volcanic activity, what have you, as I said, these are the sort of things that you look for. Because earthquake prediction isn't necessarily impossible. It's very difficult, but the only way you're going to do any level of accurate earthquake forecasting, for example, is to track this stuff daily and also to take into account the space environment and more, because we see these very, very, very strong correlations. I don't think they're really correlations. Some of them are, but some of them aren't. Some of them are causative. Hard to become more causative than the sun, right? The sun drives almost everything here on the planet. Of course, you have the cosmic environment. That's huge, much vaster and bigger than the sun. But if we were to turn the sun off and it disappears for a day, it would not be good. So the sun drives the majority of the geophysical processes here on Earth. It's like constantly loading energy into the system, and then Earth takes that and runs with it, and it runs through the machinery. But the actual juice going in to that electric engine, you could say, the global electric circuit, is from this guy right here. Because we're very close to the sun. One astronomical unit, we're receiving 1,360 watts per square meter. That's a tremendous amount. You go out to Neptune and it drops down to basically nothing. So we receive a lot of solar radiation. That's why we can even have solar panels in the first place. So you go further out, it's going to be like, what are you even doing? It's not even worth it. But we've been in this high-speed stream now for a good amount of time. As we can see, here is our solar wind for the past 3 days. And you notice that our magnetic field was very, very, very quiet. And that is also sometimes something that we see before bigger events, where you get this strong change, fluctuation. It's like an inflection point where things will be very quiet and then they'll be very active. And so we saw that our magnetic field was very quiet because the space weather's been pretty quiet over the past week or so, though we've been forecasting this to come up. Here, this high-speed stream comes in. This is our magnetic field up there. Normal strength is around 5. I put my cursor over that. You can see some normal values, 5 there for the total field. 1, this red line shows the negative polarity of that solar wind, like I mentioned. So that is hovering around 0. Then you see that this charge all the way up to 17, negative 13. That's what drove this G2 geomagnetic storm. We had a value there for our KP index, a 3-hour measure of geomagnetic volatility. Swings in Earth's magnetic field, getting stronger, getting weaker, very rapid, of a 5.67. That's a G2 minus storm. The scale rating goes from 1 to 5. At a KP level of 5, you're at a G1 storm, that's a minor storm. At G2 levels, you're at a moderate storm. And if you go all the way to KP 9, that's a G5 storm, that's an extreme storm. So we're not seeing that, but this certainly is adding more energy into the system. We see the solar wind velocity here has gone up. We were way down here in the below 300 kilometers per second at times, but really more like 300 kilometers per second. Very, very low. Now we are getting right up there in this 550 kilometer per second range, and it very well could get faster than that. I wouldn't be surprised if we go over 650 in the next 24 hours because our density is still quite high. Clearly, there's been a kind of a large wall of high density plasma at the front of this coronal hole. It puts a shock on the Earth. Until this density really starts to drop, we're probably not going to see this velocity go up significantly. But this will probably get over 600 kilometers per second in the next 24 hours. And we could now see with our solar wind being about 2 times stronger than normal, the magnetic field, if this polarity flips negative like we saw here, and this remains very, very fast, then we could see more geomagnetic volatility and a second bump up in that. All this happening while we have this seismic distributed lower magnitude seismic burst right now on the planet with 15 magnitude 5 events, which is highly anomalous. Again, it's very, very, very odd. And this is the primary location really north of New Zealand that I'd be looking for for there to be a big earthquake, though we have been having crazy activity up here in Nevada. If we go to our 7-day all magnitudes, we see 252 earthquakes in the map area here as part of this earthquake swarm defined primarily by this magnitude 5.7. That is very, very large for this area. There's one other 5.7 that occurred just nearby, December 2024. And if you go all the way back to the year 2000, nothing. Now there's other higher magnitude events like 6 range, like in other parts here, but specifically right in this zone, 5.7 is tied for the past 26 years for the strongest magnitude earthquake. And we have this crazy swarm here. So this is looking most likely like the 5.7 and then aftershock swarm, but there's always a risk that this is actually just kind of like an initial wave coming in before something bigger. That's very possible. So that's an area that I'd be watching too. And then we did just also have a pretty widely felt earthquake in Afghanistan. So there's been some pretty notable activity in Afghanistan over the past year. And we had this 5.3 right there, 198 kilometers down. That's pretty deep. 4.5 right here, 186 kilometers down, and some other magnitude 4. So this is in general an area to watch. Like the Tian Shan Mountains and this whole area, just basically the eastern part of the Himalaya and where it kind of just rolls out from there. That's definitely a major pinch point for the globe. And we've been having some activity also kind of continuously near Attic, or I guess it's pretty far away from Attic, Alaska, but this area over here has been having quite a bit of activity. So we could be seeing something there as well. We see this other magnitude 5.1 right there, King Cove. And of course, we had this earthquake swarm off the coast of Oregon, Washington, along the transform plate boundary as part of the Juan de Fuca plate. This is the Juan de Fuca plate. This is the Pacific plate. This is the Cascadia subduction zone. And the majority of this plate is now underneath the North American plate. So it's all connected together, all right? That's the thing. It's not like this is some totally separate thing from over here. This earthquake swarm right there does not necessarily mean that magnitude 9 is imminent here, but this Juan de Fuca plate is all part of a larger plate known as the Farallon plate, which has been subducting underneath North America for tens of millions of years. So it's important when you see notable earthquake activity along these plate boundaries to think about the plate as a whole. This is plate tectonics. So the whole plate can be shifting and moving, and yeah, that's a notable swarm right there. So a lot happening, as you can see. Here we see our 10 days of geomagnetic activity. Again, just really want to show you, we had a little bit of activity, then things ramped down, really, really quiet. This is where we are right now. Nothing crazy, just a G2 storm for a little bit, but it's more than nothing. So we are now in a period of heightened energy flux as it relates to our space environment with the plasma and the solar wind, as it relates to earthquake activity with just more distributed magnitude 5 earthquake activity occurring overall. And I think we're going to have something quite a bit bigger come in. And we have that plasma filament, which is going to be potentially interacting with us in just a couple days. And we have Comet PANSTARRS here going to be at perihelion tomorrow, April 19th. I went out this morning to image PANSTARRS, and I had a lot of light pollution, and I was getting my telescope. I have just like a basic telescope. It kind of does it for you. I was getting my telescope to get the image, and it was showing up nicely on my screen, but then for some reason the image didn't save because I guess it didn't have enough stacks or something. I'm fairly new to using this telescope, so I didn't know the nuances. So you can go, I did not see it with my naked eye, but I had tons of light pollution with where I am. Even with binoculars, I didn't see it. I did not see it on my phone, but with my telescope, C-Star S50, it was resolving and showing up nicely. So even with light pollution, like a lot of light pollution, I was able to get it after a few stacking, but I wasn't able to save the image, unfortunately. This one here being taken by Gerald Raymond and Michael Yeager of Namibia. Link to them in the video description today, April 18th. And so to wrap up, let's just look at our sky map, because we've been talking about the space weather, the sun. We've been talking about the earthquake activity, where we could get a large earthquake. Let's look at the influence of the planets. We looked at that alignment graphic pretty briefly, but let's give it a little bit more of a comprehensive look right here. So we have Stellarium. This is an open source software to examine the sky, and we will turn on our constellation labels, and we will turn off our atmosphere so we can better see the stars and everything. Turn on the ecliptic plane, which is right here. First and foremost, you probably noticed it, is this grouping of planets. This is that alignment. We have Mercury, Mars, and Saturn all very closely aligned. We see Neptune there just a little bit further down. So we have this very strong clustering of planetary energies with Saturn, Mars, and Mercury, and they are going to be visible in the early morning. So you so choose, you could wake up and maybe catch a glimpse of them right before I think they would set. We would have to look it up. Anyways, you could see them in the morning if you want. You're not going to see them at night because the sun is above them. So it's going like this. And then if we go over here, we see the moon and Venus. So in the Pleiades. So let's kind of go forward here in time. We'll turn our atmosphere back on. Pause this. Get our time up. And let's go forward to right after sunset, and maybe we go back to like the 30-minute mark right here. So it's 8:30 with our view here, and we see this moon-Venus conjunction, and this will be a 4% crescent moon, because again we had the new moon yesterday. So this is very, very dim, but the cool thing is that because Venus is right nearby, it should be very easy to spot. Because if you have a crescent moon like this, unless you're specifically going out to look for the moon, you may not even see it, because it can kind of blend in and the clouds and all this stuff, whatever. But with Venus there being this bright spotlight, the third brightest object in the sky, it will make viewing the moon easy. So there'll be this very nice, beautiful sight tonight with the 4% waxing crescent moon, Venus, and the Pleiades star cluster in the constellation of Taurus as the sun sets. As you see then, as you go towards 9:30, they are gone, but you will see Jupiter shining very brightly higher up in the constellation of Gemini near Pollux and Castor. So that's effectively everything that's happening right now. No guarantees as to what is going to occur in terms of a large event. This is just a probabilistic forecast. I think the chance of something is much, much, much higher because of everything discussed, but there is no guarantee. These energies work in ways that we still don't fully understand. The track record here on the channel is pretty darn good. It's not perfect. So that is the forecast. This is, I'm not Brostradamus. I'm just issuing, I think it's more likely that we have some significant seismicity in this time frame. And we have this sunspot there. Maybe it does something. It's been very, very quiet. So I think we'll be fine from the sunspot, but we could see some other space weather coming in. We also see often this clustering of higher magnitude earthquakes around new moons and full moons, and we just had that new moon. So keep that in mind too. The tidal forces, we just had that tidal tug from the moon, and that's not only ocean tides, it's also earth tides, vertical displacement of Earth, creating more microfractures. So we're in the perfect conditions right now, effectively, to see some significant large event. God is giving us all the signs. The question is, will we actually have one? I don't know. But that's what I'll leave you with, because I don't know. But that is the complete update report, holistically, everything, science, spirit, and more. So if you like what I do here on the channel, then please subscribe. I've been your host, Stefan Burns. Smash that thumbs up button to help the channel grow. We cover what's happening with the Earth, the Sun, stars, cosmos, consciousness, everything. I present videos almost daily. I sometimes do podcasts. I also have a clips channel, so make sure you subscribe to that as well. I'll see you all very soon. I wish you all a wonderful weekend. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Take some time out just for yourself to rest, relax. because these energies also interact with us. They can kind of get us charged up, and it can be a lot. So make sure you do what you can to stay cool, calm, and collected. And I'll see you all in the next video.